If Khamenei is taken out by Israel or United States, that's my assumption is that that's going to increase the rate of defections by a lot, because that would be a huge signal to everybody that the game is over. Remember, right now, the Islamic Republic is trying to do everything in its power to suggest that everything is normal, nothing happened, nothing to see here, everything is going, this was a terrorist activity and it's now neutralized. Because the reason why the Islamic Republic is trying to do that is because it understands that when the regime think that we're close to a collapse of the Islamic Republic, that is going to increase the number of defections from the Islamic Republic. So that's why they're so desperate to show that everything is normal and nothing is falling apart and the Islamic Republic is in control right now. If Khamenei is taken out, that would be a huge signal to the armed forces that we're close to a collapse. And it's going to convince a lot more armed forces to start defecting because they're going to be thinking about their survival, right? So it's going to have a huge impact. This is why, even though I want Khamenei to be captured alive, I understand why we might just take him out. If they can't capture him, taking him out to start the defections might be ideal, unfortunately. Regarding the death penalty, um, so here's the thing: there's actually among Iranians, there's disagreements over this. A lot of Iranians. So before this massacre, the disagreement was over, oh, we want revenge because these people have been killing us. They've been killing, raping, torturing, and crimes that is belongs to the dark ages, not to the 21st century, right? A lot of Iranians get very angry when anybody suggests that we have to stop the cycle of violence and executions and think like, did you not see what these people did to us? Even Prince Reza Pahlavi, for example, said we have to have justice for everybody that committed a crime, but he will also always insist that we shouldn't be chasing revenge, right? Because even if we punish people, is for justice, not for revenge. That's part of his messaging always. A lot of Iranians think that even though it makes sense that we're angry after the Islamic Republic falls, we have to act like a civilized nation. We have to join the modern world. Having executions makes us look barbaric, makes us look backwards, and we don't want to be like the Islamic Republic, right? The Islamic Republic started with a lot of executions. So if we start with a lot of executions, we're going to become closer to what the Islamic Republic is. And that's not how we want to start a nation, by having a lot of executions, right? So there has been disagreements among Iranians over this. When I used to, when I was on my Persian channel doing a live stream, something that I suggested to my audience was one last symbolic execution for Khamenei, and that would be the execution to end all executions. I think they did that in Romania. They killed the dictator and then they ended the execution after they killed him. So we might want to do that. However, I don't think right now, I think a lot of Iranians will, I have no, based on what just happened, I think a lot of Iranians are thinking that execution might be too merciful and we should basically torturing these people to death, right? Based on what they went through. Like a lot of Iranians have been radicalized in the past. I mean, justifiably. I don't want to endorse violence, but you could see where they're coming from based on what they experience. I think a lot of Iranians will are not in a position for anybody to tell them like, oh, maybe we should act more civilized, right? um a lot of Iranians are basically, I think, in a want to, they say things that I understand that I don't even want to repeat, but again, we have to understand where they're coming from. Honestly, I've been radicalized. Like, I have changed some of my positions based on what has happened in the past 2 weeks. But again, at the end of the day, whatever we're going to do with our justice system is going to be based on the constitution that we write and the laws that we pass in our parliament, right? So it's going to be a decision by the Iranian people. It's not going to be like a kangaroo court. It's going to be whether we execute or don't execute. I'm pretty sure we're not going to torture, so don't worry about that. We're going to be more civilized than that. But whether we're going to have capital punishment or not is going to be decided in a democratic way based on the decision by the Iranian people. Does that answer the question?
Okay, next we have Mr. Spivak. Danny? So yesterday I saw some tweet nearby about an app called Conduit, which you can install on your device to route internet traffic through it. My understanding is that it acts like a VPN and that it's used a lot in Iran, but I'm not very familiar with it and I don't want to endorse what I don't know for sure. So my question is, does anyone know anything about this app or similar apps?
I haven't heard of it.
If you're raising your hand in response to me, you can answer.
I actually wanted to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, first of all, I wanted to say to Armin, I just received the confirmation that Hushang is alive.
Oh my
Uh,
God! Thank
yeah,
you.
thankfully,
Jesus.
one of my guys spoke with him. I think 2 nights ago. He just said he doesn't have any connection. He couldn't connect and talk to anybody.
Who
Which
is
Thank you.
brings me
that?
to the next point.
The guy who's alive?
Somebody in our Persian Discord server that like was missing, and people assumed he was shot dead in Iran.
Okay, thanks God.
And regarding to Conduit, I actually wanted to talk to you guys about that. If I can share my screen, I wanted to show a stat regarding that application.
Are you guys sure of this? Because I don't want to promote something that ends up being like, I don't know what we're promoting, and I want to make sure that we're not putting anyone in danger. And I haven't put any time into
I
researching
heard
this
that
or anything.
IRGC
So
sells VPNs in Iran.
Yes, it does.
what Conduit is, it's a I don't know if you lot know anything about torrenting. It's basically a
I,
peer-to-peer
yeah, I
connection.
know what torrenting is, but because I haven't done any research on this, I don't know if we should be sharing it here because then I don't know if we want to be responsible for suggesting something that ends up like getting people in danger because of their information. I know I know it's probably safe, but maybe you want to send a
Um,
message to me before I could check it before you talk about it next time.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Is that okay? I hope you
Uh,
understand
uh,
why I'm a little bit
no,
yeah.
of course, no. Well, the app itself it encrypts the data, and if you use any other app like WhatsApp, any message you sent through those applications, they encrypt your data as well. So even if hypothetically there was any
Yeah, but
problem with Conduit.
even if here's the thing, even some apps are even encrypted, but because they have their servers in places where the IRGC has access to, like before they get encrypted, sometimes they don't have enough security. So, for example, WhatsApp, I heard even though they encrypt, it's not very secure. That's why some people use Signal instead of WhatsApp, because where the servers are. So sometimes the information is stored in some servers before encryption, and there are ways to access this information before it gets to the encryption level. But just because
Okay.
something is encrypted, it doesn't mean that it's 100% safe.
Jeffrey may have something to chime in on this. He's just raised his hand.
Huh. Okay,
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
to Armin's point, and again, Ann, this is not to denigrate you or the contribution you can make. I can very much understand Armin's hesitancy. There is no such thing as perfect security, right? There are varying levels of insecurity. You can use things like Tor and Onion and WhatsApp and Signal. They lower the level of insecurity. They are by no means 100%. And Armin is very correct in the sense that the regime maintains a very comprehensive cyber warfare effort. You have to be very careful, particularly what Armin and everybody else is doing regarding the pro Iranian protester diaspora. Members of the regime were directly following and threatening Tulsi just like 3 days ago. Right? Like that
Right.
happens. So I mean, Armin is right to be concerned. It is not to denigrate your contribution, brother.
The priority to my eyes right now is the fact that we need to get people connected to their loved ones to say that they are alive, to say that they're well. And an app like this and this stats that I just wanted to tell is that it's doing its part. And there are about 46,000 people right now as we speak, about 46,000 people that are connected through Siphon. But well, of course, if Armin wants to do more checks on that, be sure that it's safe, then that's absolutely understandable.
You could also post that into the our community, and maybe people could look into it. Maybe Jeffrey, would you be able to look into it a little bit if AM posts it in the community group tab?
I mean, I have some training in it, not to the depth that would make me
Do you
make
know
it.
anybody that could look into it? Maybe.
I can ask around. I only have so much bandwidth, brother. I'll
Yeah.
try.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, you're already doing so much. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, Armin, it's not me being mean. I'm just letting you know about the limitations. If I
The
have time, I
limitation.
will
Yeah.
do so. I'll
That's.
ask around.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you know who might help is Francisco. He's one you might want
Oh,
to ask.
okay. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
and just the last point I wanted to make, Armin, I have sent you new videos that I recorded today in our demonstrations in Germany, and also another story of someone in Iran, which I've sent you, and I'll also translate it for you in case you wanted to share it when you
Okay.
go back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way,
Next,
no
we have.
promises of. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No. No. Go ahead.
We have D-Dom.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to actually ask it in the chat, but I'm not sure. I just wanted Armin ask your thoughts on exposing the IRGC archives once the regime falls. Do you think it will help preventing such stuff and also like
Help what?
sorry?
You said it will help what?
Prevent further Islamist occupation of Iran
Oh.
and or maybe any other country who is vulnerable to that.
Yeah,
And
of course. Very much. Iranian people have been very much eager to discussions regarding what they want to get their hands on and where they are. Like we have had years of discussion over what we're going to do and which information we're going to dig out and what are we going to look for once we get access to these documents and these files. So we have been fantasizing about getting access to these documents for years.
and also a quick course to history. Want to do it really quick. How much is it possible? Then I tell why I want to tell such story. Like in the beginning of the Soviet Union, they had a lot of opposition, a lot of Tsarist generals who was like fleeing from Russia after the revolution. Some of those generals had a lot of popularity and political ambitions. And there is one famous case of the KGB setting up a big operation to get such one general. They made a big crowd who was chanting his name and doing everything to be looking like they are very pro this general.
Can you meet here? Tell me what the main point of this, because I think
The
I'm
main
missing it.
point is he was convinced. He came to Russia and they actually arrested him and executed him. So my point is like I really hope that that case isn't what is playing around with.
Yeah. Okay. So you're hoping that there's not a plan to kill Pahlavi. Okay. Yeah. I hope so too, and I hope that the team around him. I hope he's getting a lot of good information from United States and Israeli intelligence. So to be careful about that, and I think that he is. So I think that Mossad and CIA are tracking everything, and I think if there's any plot to try to assassinate him, they would give him the information. I mean, that's what I think is happening, and that's what I'm hope is happening.
Yeah,
So
Mossad is
that
a
gives
strong
me a little.
organization, but you can't trust them.
One thing that makes me feel a little bit better is that the Islamic Republic has planned so many assassinations in the past couple of years, and every single one of them was failed and stopped. So that gives me some level of. But again, yeah. But I am worried. I am worried, and you should be. We should be too. So yeah. Thank you.
Next, Khaisher.
Khashayar.
Yes. How
Xerxes.
are you guys?
Khashayar
Can
is
you hear me?
Xerxes in English, right?
Yeah, I was named after, it was my namesake. Actually, a little bit about me. I actually was born in Esfahan. My family's from Tehran. We escaped because my grandfather was the commander in the Artish for the Shah. So when the revolution happened, basically they were going door to door, all the quote unquote revolutionaries, and executing bloodlines. So we actually had to escape and we came to Canada. I'm in Canada now, which ties into my real main question is, so Canada a couple of years ago passed that law or whatever that they were going to go that harshest thing, sanctions on all the incoming people from Iran tied to the IRGC and all that other stuff. Never saw anything about that. Trump is supposed to be deporting all the families tomorrow as per what the reporting is, and he's saying that he's going to move on that. We've closed all the embassies in Europe, and they seem to be doing really not much in terms of starting any sort of like a deportation thing in terms of closing actual embassies, rather than they just designated them terrorists. But at what point is the Canadian government, you think, going to actually step up, one, and actually say something meaningful, two, do something meaningful?
So the embassies have not been closed in Europe, right? That's what you meant to say, because that's what I've heard.
Well, the thing is, like, they did that thing they said a couple of years back, where they said they were going to do that thing that they did for the Bosnians and all that other stuff during the fall of Yugoslavia, where they put those heavy sanctions on the regime there and all that other stuff. With the IRGC, they haven't. There's plenty of documentation of people still here that are tied to the IRGC. Like, they've really done nothing to take anyone
Yeah.
out.
It's shameful, and we're never going to forget this. And I think we have a Nazi-like regime in Iran right now, and these countries are still wanting to make sure that they have left the door open to have relationship with them, just in case, because they haven't been convinced that the Islamic Republic is going to be toppled, and they still value their relationship that they have with the Islamic Republic more than the lives of the Iranian people. That's what this is. They think that, well, we need, the Islamic Republic has oil and gas, and it's in a very strategic area. And so just remember that when they talk about human rights and caring about human rights, it's all bullshit. They only use that as virtue signaling, because when it comes to actually doing something meaningful to save people's lives, they're thinking about the interest that they might have with the Islamic Republic. So they go blame other countries like United States and Israel for prioritizing their national interests over human rights. But look at this. They are actually trying to continue to maintain a relationship with regime that is out there,
Well,
just because they're
that's what I
afraid
was
of.
saying. Sorry I didn't mean to
Yeah.
cut you off. Just the one last thing. You brought up the oil and gas, and I think that's what Trump did. I think a lot of people missed it because it's Tusi says this a lot, where he says, "Don't focus on what he's saying. Focus on how serious he is about something." I think he
Mhm.
took out Venezuela, so then he had oil supply. So if even if they close Hormuz, they got nothing because he can backstop it from his end. Then they can go into thing like right now. 2C was saying that the Royal Air Force is coming in, so they're doing a whole coalition thing. So everything I think that's happening around Trump and he's becoming so volatile is actually a misdirection of he just shamed the British Army into joining by saying they don't do anything for NATO. And I just wish that the Canadian government would step up and just do something rather than make friends with basically the enemies of the world right now, because they're becoming an enemy to Trump because they got that Trump derangement syndrome and all that other stuff they say.
Right. Regarding Venezuela and the oil, the Islamic Republic is not in a position to shut down oil coming out of the Hormuz Strait. They rely on that oil money and gas money. Everything they do costs money. If they shut down the Hormuz Strait before the rest of the world even feels the pain from shutting down the Hormuz Strait, the Islamic Republic itself is like, oh, I'm going to shoot myself in the head to make some of the blood stain your coat or something. That's what there's like. Yeah, shutting down the. I just came up with an analogy. Shutting down the Hormuz Strait is like, oh, I'm gonna shoot myself in the head so that the blood that comes out of my head is going to basically stain your clothes. It will end the Islamic Republic right away. That's their entire revenue. How are they going to do that?
Well,
Right?
I think it's because they would have put the pressure on the national on everybody around, right? To put pressure on the US to not invade as a threat to say we're going to
Yeah,
shut off
but
their
it's
oil
an
supply.
empty threat. It's an
Of course,
empty
like
threat
everything else they
because
do. Like,
yes, but you don't need Venezuelan oil to fight against that, because the Islamic Republic needs the oil money and gas money more than the rest of the world needs that oil and gas. The Islamic Republic is more reliant on the revenue from the oil and gas more than the rest of the world is reliant on the oil and gas. So it's an empty threat.
I just hope that at the end of all this, like you said, we don't forget who hurt us. I'm looking at the
Yes.
UK, I'm looking at France, I'm looking at the Carter administration, like the Democrats in the US, I'm looking at the Canadians who had a whole Ukrainian flight bombed and still haven't done anything about it. Like it's embarrassing. So, anyways, we'll leave
I
it there.
think the calculation is that these are lesser powers now, right? And they are Canada and Europe are so reliant on the world order the United States provides, that even Canada, like moving towards China, that's also an empty threat, because you cannot replace America with China. Okay, you cannot replace that. Like Canada would not even be a viable country. I mean, most European countries would not be a viable countries without American support, without the security that America provides, right? So I think all of these international order and all of these international laws that people have been using, it made sense for America for at the time. America, even though it has been a superpower for a long time, the distance between its powers and European countries and Canada is now bigger than it used to be. So there was a time that America needed its allies to basically maintain order more than before. But now, because the gap is bigger, I mean, what is NATO? NATO is America, okay? It's right.
Yeah,
So
I
if
guess.
NATO
Yeah,
is
you're right.
America, if NATO is America, I mean, I'm exaggerating, right? But like,
Mhm.
can they survive without America? I think
No, I
that
don't think any
given how,
militarily no one can. But for me, it's
yeah,
all that other stuff, right? It's just virtue signaling. It's the same thing with the Palestinian cause, and now they don't care about Iranians because, well, we fund them. You know, like the not
no, but
we,
but
the regime
but
funds their cause, so they don't want them to fall because they lose their funding.
the point that I was trying to make is that the when we talk about international law and the world order as we know it, we have to understand that it exists only because America wanted it to exist. So it will be used because America is paying the price for it to be there. It has to make sense for America, or else it would not be supported. So America was supporting it for a long time when it was benefiting from all of these allies contributing to the world order that America had in mind. And now that they have turned into leeches rather than contributors, then America is moving away from not completely, it's a spectrum, is slightly moving away from backing these standards and this world order into an more transparently and more obviously American led order rather than one that was being done with the Canadians and the Europeans.
And just one last thing, just to lighten the mood a little bit. I had an idea. I tried to put it in the chat there. So we called
I
Soleimani the Kotlet. You can make
Yeah.
a thing into Nun Khamenei.
Oh,
Make him
okay.
into a new.
Yeah, okay. I
All
actually
right.
haven't been talking about merch. I should have been, but I have been so behind on that. But I should be talking about that at some point. But yeah, thank you. I'll come. I want to make a gargad. I want to make a gargadry t-shirt for protecting Jewish people. But anyways, that's
All right. Thank you, guys.
If Israel
thank you.
itself does not gift you a Gargod tree, then I will as soon as you get into a free Iran. Next,
Thank
we
you.
have Mr. Jeffrey.
Yeah, I just want to touch on some of the points I brought, maybe help tighten the shock group. It's very true that the radical left hijacked, historically during the Soviet era of the Cold War via Soviet active measures, hijacked civil and human rights to kind of grievance wash their sedition. You see that being borne out. You can see examples of that, right, with regards to what occurred in the civil rights movement in the United States in the 50s and early 60s and how that was transformed, co-opted, warped, and weaponized by radical leftists in the mid-late 60s, right? And the focus of it. You're seeing abroad with regards to the issue we're talking about, a lot of leftists in the United States or fellow travelers via their positions in media were very facilitative in amplifying Soviet active measures designed to delegitimize the Shah. And that set the groundwork for the Red Black Alliance to take down the Shah and destroy the Shah's bold attempt at leading Iran into a period of tolerant modernity. That now you're seeing being done in the contemporary, within what's going on today. You and Goldie actually mentioned, Goldie did a good job on this when she talked about the role that, identifying link analysis regarding the Red Green Alliance. And she talked about the co aligned elements in the West, specifically when she cited what occurred out of Georgetown. I went to Georgetown. In the previous podcast, you guys did and said, well, see what that person in the mainstream media cited, he cited Georgetown. And she knows some of the elements at Georgetown via either being directly funded by and or ideologically co-aligned with the mullah regime, put out advocacy research to run interference for the mullahs. So what do? The best thing you can do, and you guys are doing this, you, Goldie, Tulsi, people in this room, identify via link analysis those co-aligned elements in the West, so that in fleshing out how they're running interference for the Mullah regime, and then put them on blast, make sure everything's cited so people know the nature of where that poisoned information is coming from. As far as the United States, like, it's right, you're not wrong, Armin. The Mullah regime's like lifeblood, one of its main lifeblood is the oil export. That said, if they know they're done, they'll probably do it no matter what, as a means of, like, a last FU, right? They go down the S-curve prospect theory.
For half a second.
Hold on, hear me out. So there's definitely plans on, the Mullah regime definitely has plans on shorting out or blocking the Strait of Hormuz. I promise you we have ways to resolve that very quickly. And not for nothing, the reason why President Trump rightly went after Maduro, I wrote one of the reports that underwrote the calculation anyway, is that the violent Marxist Maduro regime that occupied Venezuela had direct organization, operational ties both with Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, and the Mullah regime, particularly serving as a focal point where the Mullah regime via their dark fleet would be able to circumvent sanctions and export their oil. And so when Donald removed Maduro, he cut that off. That was the beginnings of deconstructing the Mullah regime. So, I mean, I just wanted to add that observation for people in case, to help them get their head around it a little. Hopefully it helps anyway.
I mean, it's not going to cause that much disruption in the oil market if the mullahs disrupt the oil and gas coming out of the Persian Gulf for half a day, right?
Okay, a
Right?
timing reminder. It is 15 after the hour, and next is Rebecca.
I have a question and then an idea. So my question is, is it a fact, hearsay, or some kind of opposition propaganda that Khomeini was or is a Russian plant?
Khamenei was a Russian plant? That's a conspiracy theory by Fakhravar. So the guy that Goldie and I showed on the show, there's a crazy lunatic who is competing with Princess of Pahlavi to be the leader of the opposition against the Islamic Republic. His name is Amir Abbas Fakhravar. He thinks he's the Thomas Jefferson of Iran, so that's why we call him Abbas Jefferson. He's kind of crazy. He has the crazy. He's kind of like the other guy from Restart that we showed you. He has wrote a book. I forgot what his name is. He thinks it's the most popular book in the world.
Khamenei or something like that.
I don't know. I don't forget what his book name is, but he thinks it's the most popular book in the world. I had him on my show, and he said this book is like the most widely read book or whatever. And then I showed that the book I wrote had more reviews on Amazon than his. So like, how is this book so worldwide famous? My book is more read, but he got very offended by that. I mean, not to dismiss the toxic, destructive influence of the Russian government and their support for the Islamic Republic. I don't want to dismiss that. That has been very, very, and this is why the Iranian people justifiably are very angry with the Russian government, and they see it as their enemy. And not just during the Islamic Republic, but also before. Like, the Iranian people have a really negative views of Russian governments because of the records of, I mean, even before Putin, the Soviet Union was constantly, I mean, this is actually everything. So here's the thing: Khamenei himself is not a Russian plant. However, the Islamic Republic started because the commies united with the Islamists and did the Islamic Revolution of 1979. When the commies, where did the commies came from? From the Soviet Union. The commies were Russian plants inside Iran who ended up causing the Islamist leftist alliance that caused the Islamic Republic. So if you want to blame the Russians for something, blame them like that. It's more historic. Like, it started way before Khamenei.
Got it. Excuse my ignorance. So here's the idea section. Okay. So you know how some content creators organize tours, right? For their members, for channel members.
Okay.
Once the dust settles in Iran, if you organize a tour I'll join you. And I work as a massage therapist. I'll give free massages to everyone who fought in the revolution, as much as my hands can give.
Oh, you're so sweet, Rebecca. Thank you. That's very sweet.
Okay.
You have such a kind heart. Thank you.
Organize a tour. I'll
Rebecca's
come. I'm saving up. I'm already checking flights.
okay. Rebecca's
Stay
sitting
well.
thinking how a cut. Rebecca, like, you know what's adorable? What's very sweet is that the fact that I imagine you thinking like, okay, what can I do to help? These are my skills. How could I contribute? That is so heartwarming and sweet, and I really appreciate you just even thinking about that. So thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome. Organize a tour, please. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Before we move on, Armin, my uncle has a question. Did yesterday's session get deleted?
No.
Okay. If not, he has sent you. Oh, somebody moved in the chat. He has sent you a message about it.
Yeah. So the guys, the parts that the reason why I'm not posting the full section in the group is because my time is very limited. I will go back to that soon to put the segments that we're putting on YouTube, I'm not deciding where we cut. AI is deciding that. Okay? So it's all being decided by AI for some reason. And those are the segments that we're putting out there, but I know like some people want to have access to the full version. I am uploading them on this new YouTube channel that I made. So I called it World Liberty Army. So I'm going to upload all our videos on this YouTube channel, like the full discussion. So I think the one that Uncle is looking for should be there as well. I'm just using it as a way to make sure that we have all our videos there. But I will at some point I will also post them on our community tab again.
He said no problem and no rush, but thank you for the link. And up next, we have Sabina.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have two questions. My first, I guess, is about strategy. I think it's very clear that Reza Pahlavi is, one of the best things for Iran. And, I've been trying to counter objections to him by sharing the PDF of the emergency plan from the Iran
So Sabina,
prosperity.
your audio, there's an issue with your audio. Is it for me or is it for other people as well? So Sabina, if you don't mind, can you write down your question in the chat because we're having audio issues.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's go to the next person and then maybe we could
In
go
the
back to
meantime,
Sabina's question. Yeah.
Dingle, you're next, and then I will keep an eye for that question. By the way, you have 39 minutes to the hour.
Somebody's saying in the chat, that, Sabina, did you buy your microphone from Digital? That's a good one.
Okay, Dingleberry, last call. Okay, next is MM. Okay.
I think he's still here.
We are jamming through this
Hello.
list, I'll tell you right now.
Sorry. Yes. Hi, I'm John. First of all, I would like to add something regarding the Russia. It goes back to when we had Turkmenchai, the treaty, and Golestan treaty, which was actually the two treaties that Russia annexed some parts of Iran, which today is Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia. That just I wanted to add, just to let people know regarding that, and also in the Gagauz dynasty, Russia actually we had some war with Russia, which one of them was in Gilan, and also in Iran, Azerbaijan, which Mirza Kuchukhan and Satah Khan, they were actually the leaders of those war against
Okay.
against the Russia. But my question
Right.
is that I heard you, Armin, on the Goldie channel yesterday. You were talking. You mentioned just briefly regarding the Georgetown declaration. Today I researched and just watched 3 hours of the press conference from 3 years ago.
Your
And
audio quality is very low. I'm having a hard time understanding it, but try to get to the point.
could you please explain why people fell out with the Prince, Crown Prince? Could you explain it, please? Thanks.
So you're talking about Georgetown. So after the Master Revolution, the Iranian people were very much eager for all the main people who were prominent within the opposition against Islamic Republic to sit together and work with each other against Islamic Republic, right? And some monarchists at that point were against this because to those monarchists, we don't need, it seemed like we were coming up with a coalition of leaders. And the monarchists at that point were saying that this is an attempt. Their understanding was that the leader that Iran needs is Prince Reza Pahlavi. And by having a coalition of leaders, we're basically dismissing his position. We are making these other people seem as relevant or as worthy of leadership as Princess of Pahlavi by having them sit next to Princess of Pahlavi, right? But that was at that point. But most people didn't see it at that point. Not most people. Many people didn't see it like that. Many people at that point thought Princess of Pahlavi is good, Masih Ali Najad is good, Abdullah Muhtadi is good, Hamid Ismailian is good, and some other people. But mostly these four people, they got together and they created a coalition of leaders. And at that time, I remember some monarchists were even upset with Princess of Pahlavi, which actually shows that they're not blind followers. A lot of people think that the supporters of Princess of Pahlavi are like cultish people who follow him blindly. But I remember specifically at that time that they were criticizing him. That why are you sitting next to these people? Especially people like Abdullah Muhtadi, who is an anti-nationalist. So Masih Ali Najad had a history of things that were she had done many things that were questionable, including working with and sitting next to Kurdish separatists. Hamid Ismailian has ties to the reformers and MEK, and Abdullah Muhtadi was the worst one. But at that point, the Iranian people didn't see these details like the way that the monarchists did, and they were so encouraged by all of these people sitting next to each other and creating a coalition of leaders, right? Something that made some monarchists didn't want. Some monarchists wanted Princess of Pahlavi to be the only leader, right? And the leftist people were saying, no, there needs to be a coalition of leaders for us to be diverse and open to many different groups of people. The monarchist arguments were like, yeah, we could be open to many groups of people under the leadership of Princess of Pahlavi. And their argument was that most revolutions are successful because there's one leader that everybody unites with. Like there's not that many revolutions in history where you have multiple leaders leading the revolution. There's usually one main leader that everybody uses as a way to come together and unite on, right? Here's it. But Princess of Pahlavi, he's not going to just listen to some monarchists. Princess of Pahlavi wants to, when he does something, is based on what most Iranian people want. So at that point, even though some monarchists were criticizing him, given how much demand there was for these people to sit next to each other, he said he accepted it and he sat next to these people and they created a coalition. Once the declaration of this coalition came out, it was a bombshell. Like I remember those days because we were having live stream after live stream. It was so unpatriotic. It had no respect for our border integrity. And we were wondering if Abdullah Muhtadi was the only person that was involved in writing this. Soon after they came out, so many people were turned against this coalition based on what the declaration was about. And eventually there was an audio leak that showed Abdullah Muhtadi was proud of the fact that he removed all nationalist and patriotic language from the declaration, which it was a moment of vindication for us, because that's exactly, we thought that Abdullah Muhtadi has written it, and it seemed like that was true based on the audio leak. So a lot of people turned against the coalition. And here's the thing, Prince Reza Pahlavi didn't turn against any of the people in the coalition. The first person that started throwing stones at other people, at the members of coalition, was Hamid Ismailion, and then Masih Alinejad. Masih Alinejad would come to Iran International, and she was constantly speak against Prince Reza Pahlavi, even though Prince Reza Pahlavi didn't take any positions against her. Masih Alinejad, everyone's understanding correctly, is that she is not in it for helping the Iranian people. She's in it for being seen the most. She wants to be the most popular, and she's competing with Prince Reza Pahlavi. The only reason why she was sitting next to Prince Reza Pahlavi was to use Prince Reza Pahlavi's popularity and his position among the minds and hearts of the Iranian people as a ladder to grow. And now we also have been vindicated over that. In this revolution, we could see that Masih Alinejad is seeing this as a competition for who's the most popular. That when Iranian people were in the streets risking their lives and dying, when she was posting their videos and pictures, she would cherry pick the ones that didn't mention Javid Shah or Pahlavi will return. It was getting so outrageous that she was being called out by so many Iranians, that Iranian people are in the streets calling Pahlavi, and you're only picking the videos from the chants that suggest that people are saying death to Khamenei, death to the dictator, or death to the Islamic Republic, but nothing about Pahlavi, which shows how the grudge that she has and how much it pains her to show that the Iranian people are calling for Pahlavi. But then eventually, when she was called out, she put a few out that mentioned Javid Shah, but only a few because she was being called out. But you also saw when she came to the United Nations Security Council to represent the Iranian people, even though she doesn't, she didn't mention Pahlavi at all. Even though this entire revolution is about bringing Pahlavi back to Iran, when she was supposedly representing the Iranian people at the United Nations Security Council, I don't know who decided that she's the one who should be there to speak on our behalf. Not a single time she mentioned Pahlavi, which is the most important thing, important part of this revolution. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And also, I know Masih Alinejad since 2008 when she was in Iran, and then in the Green Revolution, that she went out of Iran to
Sure.
Malaysia, something like that. Yes. And
Yes, yes.
she's
That's how
actually an opportunity. I believe that she's just an opportunist, and she just
she's a grifter.
she's after just her the benefits, and as you said, she likes to be seen. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Can I get some clarity? Is Mythic Minx and MM the same user?
No, no, no. Mine is
Okay,
just as it's got the
Okay, okay.
water lily.
Just a
sure.
small, just a
Okay.
small clarification. Thank you. Yeah.
Mythic Minx, I don't see you here anymore, but if you are, speak now.
He's not here.
Okay, very good. Samantha and then D Dom, and those are our remaining two.
Oh, I just wanted to make mention I'm making a list of Psych2Go videos that are in Persian that I think might be especially helpful for people in Iran that I'm gonna put in the schooly like group.
Oh, thank you, Samantha. Thank you. I saw you post a link and I clicked on them, and it was like about how to check yourself if you're in a, to do a mental check on where you are mentally. I know, Samantha, you're going around and looking Persian videos on advice on how to be on a, for Iranians to check their mental situation and how to take care of their mental health, and posting the links here. That is so sweet. Like, honestly, I'm so glad, I'm so happy to know you. I'm so grateful to know you.
Yeah, thank you for always just being so nice.
No, you're nicer than me. That's amazing. Thank you.
Okay, Daniel Dome, last on the list.
A real quick one. Beforehand told that the embassies of Iran, the Islamic Republic are closed in Europe. Is that correct, or
No,
it
they're
was
not.
just?
No, I think they're not. No, they're still open,
Well, okay then.
which is a shame. It's shameful. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got the question from Sabina when you're ready.
Okay, let's do that.
It was about trying to address objections to Reza Pahlavi with the Iran Prosperity Project off of the emergency plan. And so that was the method being used against Pahlavi objections. She was using the Iran Prosperity Project. And the second part about this was about reporting that says the IRGC is harvesting organs for sale on the black market from protesters' bodies. Can you touch on that?
I actually haven't heard that. I don't even know if that's true. So I have to look into that. It's
Right,
true.
though.
That's new. Yeah, I mean, based on what we saw in the past 2 weeks, I would not actually be surprised. The Islamic Republic is evil, but the past 2 weeks is a different level of evil than even we Iranians are used to. Like a lot of you might think, like, oh, Iranians must have been, based on the experience that we have had with the Islamic Republic in the past 47 years, they must be like, oh, yeah, of course they would do this. Yes, the Islamic Republic has been very evil, but these past 2 weeks is on such a different level that it's not even normal for us. Like, this is not normal for us.